how do you find your references? Well, it can be a difficult question. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for books like textbooks or other non-fiction books, it's usually pretty easy. You just you're normally assigned these by your lecturer or your professor already, so you don't really have to look for them normally. If, however, you have a textbook or you're interested in finding a textbook or being directed to a textbook that's not already assigned to you, if you want to find it or know about these textbooks, the easiest way is to just ask your professor. So every professor has read plenty of books, so they would have plenty of recommendations for you, or you can just Google it. So textbooks are broad enough and there's few enough of them, and their titles are kind of easier to search for, that you can use Google and usually find them pretty easily. So books are easy, but when we get into things like journal articles, this is when a lot of undergraduate students run into problems, because it's much more dense and it requires a bit more practice to be able to access journal articles reliably. So where do you find them? I've actually got two methods here. Before I do that, I'm just going to move myself over here. So there's two methods. The first method is a method that you should use. Is the method that professional academics use, or people that have more expertise in doing this kind of thing, or searching for literature or sources. So the first one is actually searching through databases yourself. This takes longer but is more professional. Okay. The other quick and dirty way is to actually use your references. Okay. And this is faster but not as thorough. Now there's other ways to find references. For example, I have professors that they find out a lot about new research through their Twitter feed, because they have their friends on Twitter that post their articles. That's a good way as well, but I don't expect my students to have a lot of experts on their Twitter feed. It takes time to build up those networks, so I'm not going to recommend that you do that at this stage. So let's just focus on this one first, searching through databases. This video is made for University of Auckland students, but this applies to basically anyone going to university, is that you need to access these databases through your university website. And the reason why is that if you don't, you have to pay for the articles. Okay, so articles cost money, maybe like $15, but you don't have to pay those fees if you go through your university, because your university already pays those fees for you. Okay, and I recommend that you use Google Scholar. You don't have to. There's other databases like JSTOR or PsycInfo, and there's databases that are specifically made for certain fields like anthropology, psychology, biology, physics, and what have you. But Google Scholar is the general one, so it kind of searches across all different fields, and for that reason it's really useful. Now you might want to use specialist databases at a later point in your degree, but again, if you're a first year, like most people hopefully watching this video, just use Google Scholar. And I know professors that are experts who I admire a lot who only use Google Scholar. So it is what it is. Anyway, once you go to Google Scholar, you need to use some search terms. So this is just like using Google, except you want to be maybe a bit more specific about the terms you're using. So, you might use crime rates, childcare environment. You need to know about the language that's used in your field. So like childcare, or if you're doing something in law, something like, I don't know, what's a law term? Adjudication, whatever. So you do need to know the jargon a bit, so the specialist terms. And also it gives you the option, most databases give you the option to combine search terms. So I'm interested in childcare and something else, or and environment. So I want those two things together in whatever I'm searching for. Once you've done that search, you can choose an article. You need to search through, you'll get a bunch of results. And you need to look through those results and choose an article. Then you download the PDF. So it's always in a PDF file, that what you're looking for, and then you read it. Okay, so I'll give you an example of this later, but first of all, we'll look at this other alternative method over here, using your references. Now this is something that you should not rely on forever. But again, like if you are an undergraduate and you're having trouble trying to find the certain search terms that you're looking for, well, a good way is actually just to use the expertise of the people who have written the sources you already have. So first of all, you have to have a reference already, and usually you'll be having a textbook already. So I'll be using a textbook for this example. So, you're reading through your textbook, you're like, I have an assignment. This assignment is about religion or It's about, you know, ethnicity or whatever, social science topics that are coming to mind right now. So while you're reading it, you're like, oh, you know, they're citing things. They're actually citing references while I'm reading this, and those references will probably be useful to me in understanding this topic. Okay, so what you do is you say, okay, that's a citation that's interesting to me. You use that citation to go to your reference list at the back of your assignment. Okay, and you find it through the list. It'll be in alphabetical order, usually organized by surname, if it's APA style. And then I find the easiest way, if you want to read that original source, you go to the reference list, you get the title of that reference, and then you just copy and paste that into Google Scholar. Google Scholar access through your university website. So, and you know, in the case of University of Auckland students, that'd be through the University of Auckland Library. So you copy and paste that title, and then once you copy and pasted that title, you should be able to find that source in Google Scholar. This works much better for journal articles, okay? Because if you try to read books on Google Scholar or through your university database, usually you can't read an online version. If you want to read books, and I probably should have said this earlier, if you want to read books, normally you have to read the physical hard copy of it. That's just how books work. But journal articles are normally read through PDFs. Okay, so let's look through some examples. I'm just gonna move myself back over here. Okay, let's look through some examples. I will open up my web browser. So this is, again, for University of Auckland students. So there's this little thing here. So I've got my magnifying glass on. Click on everything, and then you scroll down, and then here it says Google Scholar. So Google Scholar here, open it up. I've already got a tab open, and this is Google Scholar. And, you know, again, it depends on whatever assignment you're writing. But in my case, let's say I've already got some search terms that I've tried. Musical preference and personality. So what kind of personality traits are associated with certain kinds of preferences in music? It's an interesting topic. So I'll search for that. And I've already done this search before, but you'll find something like this. So you'll find a list of different sources here. Again, I've made sure to go through my university site. I've already logged in. If you haven't logged in, it'll ask you to log in, but I've already logged in. So I've already logged in. That means that the PDFs that are available here are available for me to read without paying for them. Okay, so I've got some of these tabs open already. So I think this one is, yeah, so this is one of the sources that I opened up. So if you click on one of these links here, you know, depending on which one you click on, they'll look different, but this is a typical example. So this is the journal article here. It's got the abstract, so the different information of the summary of what's happening in this journal article. And what I'm looking for is the PDF. So the button that has the PDF on it will look different depending on the link. So for example, I've got another article here loaded up already. This one is different. This is music preference, depression, suicidal preoccupation, etc. Again, when I come to this and I want to read the full PDF, I'm looking for the PDF symbol. In this case, it looks like this. Okay, so just in case you can't see that clearly, it's a little PDF symbol here. Okay. Oops. So anyway, once you see that PDF symbol, you just click on it like this. And normally it'll pop up like that. When you are looking at the PDF and reading through the journal article, I find it useful to also save the save it myself. So save it to my computer so I can view it later and I don't always have to go online to look at it. Example of this method here. So searching through databases, and now I'll show you the other method. So if I look through this textbook here, this is for people that are doing HumServe 102. So I've got lifespan perspective. Sorry, it's not the right way around. But this is the textbook that you should have. This is actually the second edition, but you can also get the third edition. So when I'm reading this, I notice, oh, actually there's a citation for the modern lifespan perspective. The first person to actually come up with the modern lifespan perspective, and this is discussed on page 14 of your textbook, okay? And the citation they give is Baltz, or Baltes, I'm not sure how to pronounce that, 1987. So what I can do is I can go to the back of the textbook. So my textbook here, I just go right to the back, and there's a big reference list, all in alphabetical order. I just look for that surname and that year, Baltz 1987. And this is the full reference, so I've typed it out here for you. And the title of that is Theoretical Propositions of Lifespan Development, Developmental Psychology. Okay. I want to read that, so I want to read this original source. The original source isn't in the textbook. I've got to go and find it myself. So what I do is I go and copy and paste the title of this into my search bar, so into my Google Scholar search. So I can do that right now. I'm just going to copy this and we'll go into Google Scholar. I'm just copy and pasting that here and searching. And as you can see, the first thing that comes up is the result that matches that title. So now I've already done this. If I click on the PDF, it'll show me the original article. And again, those of you who are doing HumSurf 102, this is actually a useful source. You might want to use this in your assignment actually and read the whole article. Because if you scroll down here, they have the 7 assumptions, or he has the 7 assumptions, and goes into perhaps different or more detail than your textbook perhaps. So it might be a good article to read. So anyway, I'll just go back to our presentation. So yeah, we've done these 3 things. We've used a reference from our own textbook and gone and found the original source on Google Scholar.